Hello guys, my name is Phil once again. In this video tutorial, I'm going to teach you about arrays. So let's begin. Let's first define what an array is. Array is simply a collection of elements uh, which are the same types. The elements are homogeneous elements, which means elements with the same type. Uh, Array has size, fixed size, and the elements are indexed with zero-based indexing, uh, which means the indexing starts from 0. Size of the array or length of the array determines the total number of elements which the given array can store. You can have different dimensions, like one-dimensional array, two-dimensional array, or you can have multi-dimensional arrays in general. One-dimensional arrays are called vectors, two-dimensional arrays are called matrices. Let's see how we can declare and allocate a memory for arrays. First, we have to specify its type. Then, if it is one-dimensional, let's say vector, you have to use these angle brackets, square brackets, the name of the array. This is declaration. Declaring an array doesn't mean you are allocating a memory to the array. Simply declaring means it points to nothing. So the name of the array is stored in the program's execution stack, and the value of each element of the array are stored in the dynamic memory, which is called heap memory. This is how we can assign a memory to an array variable. This new operator helps you to allocate adequate amount of memory to this array variable. For example, an entry carries 4 bytes. Here you are assigning this array to hold 6 elements. So it assigns it 4 times 6 bytes, which is 24 bytes for this variable. So let's see how we can depict the memory representation of array elements. Here, the name of the array is stored in the program's execution stack space, and the elements are stored in the heap or the dynamic memory. We have assigned a memo, therefore the elements of the array are assigned default value, which is 0. 0 is the default value of int. Most integer numbers are assigned 0 default value if it is not initialized. You can also initialize it explicitly, actually. Simply int, then this bracket, my array is equal to, then curly braces. Then inside that you can specify the elements value, which is called explicit initialization. I have told you that the arrays are by default 0 based indexed, which starts 0, 0 for the first element, 1 for the second, and n-1 for the last element. How you can access? You can access elements of the array by using their indexes. Accessing in essence Either you can get the value or assign a value. So if you want to assign, you have to use is equal to then the value. If you want to get the value, then my array at index can be accessed in this way. Sometimes if you are accessing array elements with your index, you have to take care of that. The maximum possible index that you can use to access array element is n-1. If you are using n or greater, then it will automatically throw an exception, which is called index out of range exception. So you have to use values from 0 up to n-1. How can you read elements for the array? You can use console read line. For example, for the previous example, its data type is int. So in order to read, you can use console.read line, but we know that read line returns string as a result. So we have to parse the string value into integer using int.parse. Here, this return value is passed as a parameter into this function. So you can read array elements using this console method, which is a read line, using array loop by iteratively. First, you have to specify the length of the array, then let the loop to iterate n times so that the user can read elements from the console n times. Then the elements can be assigned values. Iterations through elements of an array. Consecutive iterating using a loop will allow us to access each element through its index, and we will be able to modify it as we want. You can do that with different loop constructs, but the most appropriate loop is the for and for each loops. You can have multi-dimensional arrays, like we have mentioned before. We have seen one dimension. Now let's see two dimension. If you want to have two dimension, you have to split it by comma. This is two-dimensional array. This array will be called two-dimensional because they have two dimensions. One dimension, two dimension. They are also known as matrix, which is the mathematical term. So in general, this is the way you declare multi-dimensional array by splitting the dimensions by comma. If you want three-dimensional array, you have to split it. You have to use 2 comma. For 2-dimension, 1 comma. For dimension, 3 comma. How we can declare and allocate memory for multi-dimensional arrays? It's similar to one dimension, but the difference is simply you have to use comma for the dimensions. This is 2-dimension. This is 3-dimension. So this is int matrix, float matrix, and this is 3-dimensional. If you want to assign memory, you have to use new operator. So this int matrix has 3 elements, 3 rows, each of which can have 4 elements. So here this is a matrix, then total number of elements which can be stored in this 2-dimensional array is 3 times 4. Array of arrays. Array of arrays in C# is called jagged arrays. Simply jagged arrays, array of arrays. which means arrays in which each row contains an array of its own, and that array can have lengths different than those in the other rows. This is how we can initialize jagged arrays. This is the way to declaration and allocation of memory and so on. So we can instantiate explicitly. Each row can have its own array with different lengths. For example, this has 3, this has 3, this has 4. This is all about arrays. If you have any question, you're welcome. You can comment down below. Thanks for watching.